Damian Wayne is the 5th official Robin, after Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown. He is of course the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul, making him an extremely unique character when it comes to Robins. He's a fairly controversial character as well. Many fans love him and even see him as potentially the greatest Robin ever, whereas many others do not like him. His story is very up and down, and in today's video we will be covering it in full. Let's get into it. So after a brief fling with the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, Talia, Bruce Wayne managed to get her pregnant. He was actually completely unaware of the conception of the child and returned to his normal life fighting crime for years to follow. Talia, however, believed that because of the genes, she now had the perfect heir. Talia then used the League's extensive scientific resources to inorganically speed up the child's aging, giving him the physiology of a 10-year-old in less than 5 years. She named the child Damian. He was raised and trained by the League of Assassins, and by a very young age, he was already an extremely deadly assassin. When Talia deemed him ready, she allowed him to go to Gotham to meet his father. Of course, Batman was extremely surprised to learn that he had a child. Despite his intense training to become a remorseless assassin, Damian was actually sympathetic to his father's vigilantism in Gotham and volunteered to become his next sidekick. Batman agreed and granted Damian the mantle of Robin. This relationship didn't last too long, however, as Batman was apparently killed during an invasion by Darkseid, and the original Robin, now Nightwing, Dick Grayson, chose to take over the mantle of Batman. As Damian didn't want to give up on his father's mission to protect Gotham, he decided to continue on as the Robin to Grayson's Batman. During their time together as the dynamic duo, they formed a very close brotherly relationship. They didn't always agree, but what brothers do. When before Damian had betrayed a very arrogant and vicious personality, it appeared that the death of his father had regressed him to a more childlike mindset, as demonstrated when he took the Batmobile joyriding with an older girl. This was discovered by Oracle, who ejected the girl and took control of the Batmobile, taking Damian home. Damian's second year as Robin began with him initiating a fight against his predecessor, Red Robin, Tim Drake, who had been keeping a hit list of criminals and tasks, which attracted Damian's fury when the latter hacks the hit list and discovers that a hidden layer of allies to the Bat family were considered potential threats by Tim. One of them was Damian. During a stakeout mission, Damian severs Tim's line, causing him to fall from a great height. He survives, and Tim pulls Damian into an all-out brawl. This fight takes them all the way to outside the theatre where Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. The two of them are stopped by Dick Grayson, dressed as Batman, who chastises both of them for fighting in front of the theatre where Batman was born. The two then enter into a grudging truce for the foreseeable future. Eventually, Bruce Wayne would of course return to the fold, and he reclaimed the mantle of Batman. The father and son duo then continued on as Batman and Robin. Before long, Damian would join the Teen Titans after Dick Grayson decided that the team needed a Robin, while also feeling that Damian would benefit from the friendship of other heroes, feeling that his brother had progressed to the point where he could be trusted to not kill if left unsupervised. As time moved on and the universe was somewhat reset with the introduction of the New 52, Bruce and Damian were still Batman and Robin and were finding it very difficult to come to an agreement on how justice should be served. Of course, Batman prefers not to kill, whereas Damian thinks the permanent solution of death is the only way. Though, to respect his father's wishes, he chooses to show restraint. This was until he faced the villain going by the name Nobody. Nobody captured and tortured Damian, and when Batman eventually discovered their location, he beat Nobody brutally, almost to the point of killing him. But he stopped himself when he realized that Damian was there and watching. Nobody then promised he would return and kill their friends. And so Damian killed him. Though Bruce was horrified with the situation, he chose to react with compassion rather than anger. He decided to spend more time with Damian as father and son instead of as hero and sidekick. He hopes that this will give his son the childhood that he never had, and he can perhaps find some compassion of his own. Soon Batman would come to the realization that the mother of his son, Talia, had made a clone of Damian. The clone is an evil adult version of Damian going by the name Heretic. During an issue of Batman Inc. released in 2013, Heretic would attack and knock out Nightwing before taking on Damian. The Heretic eventually gains the upper hand and impales Damian through the chest, the sword piercing Damian's heart and resulting in him dying almost instantly. Minutes after Damian's death, Batman arrives and sees Damian's dead body, Angered, he and a revived Nightwing battle the Heretic, but are eventually forced to retreat with Damian's body. After holding a private funeral for the fallen Boy Wonder, Bruce vows to avenge his son's death. The following story deals with Bruce's mental health decline while dealing with losing his son, unwilling to accept his son's death, and begins seeking the means to resurrect Damian at the cost of his relationship with his friends and allies. When Batman and Nightwing finally reconfront Heretic, they overpower him, and the clone suffers a brutal beating from both of them in retaliation for Damian's death. Batman, despite desiring to kill his son's murderer more than anything, and Nightwing making absolutely no attempt of stopping his mentor, spares the villain's life after seeing his resemblance to Damian, realizing that the clone is pretty much all that he has left of his son. However, Talia later kills the Heretic for his failure to kill Batman and challenges Batman to a duel to the death in the Batcave. It comes to light that Ra's al Ghul intends to bring both his daughter and grandson back to life. Batman does not trust Ra's and decides to pursue him to reclaim his son's body. By the time he gets to him, it is too late and Ra's has successfully had them placed in a Lazarus pit, leaving Batman in dread of Damian's potential fate. The resurrection fails, leaving Ra's to realise his arrogance for allowing the Heretic to kill his grandson, and he regrets allowing Talia to clone Damian in the first place. After defeating Ra's in combat, Batman reclaims Damian's body and threatens his son's maternal grandfather that if he steals his son's body again, he will kill him in retaliation. Man, do not mess with Batman's son. Soon after, one of Darkseid's elite members, Glorious Godfrey, comes to Earth. He is there to retrieve a Chaos Shard, a powerful crystal which belonged to Darkseid that Ra's al Ghul had essentially hidden inside of Damian. Godfrey eventually manages to leave with Damian's body, angering Batman once more. Batman then enters and accesses the Justice League Watchtower to use his unstable exosuit known as the Hellbat armor, designed by Batman himself and the Justice League members to engage large-scale threats. Batman successfully retrieves his son's corpse as he and his team return to Earth via the boom tube directly to the Batcave after successfully escaping the clutches of Darkseid and his parademons. After this, Batman uses the Chaos Shard on his son's corpse, which has been infused with Darkseid's Omega Sanction. With Batman facing two choices of whether to resurrect Damian or his parents, he chooses his son, granting Damian's true resurrection. As Damian and Batman embrace, Batman collapses from exhaustion. However, before the team can celebrate, the boom tube that was used to return them to Earth was not closed, and Darkseid's son Kalibak arrives and attacks the team. During the fight, Kalibak beats the team nearly to death, when suddenly, Damian knocks him out with a powerful uppercut, discovering that due to the Chaos Shard he has gained superhuman abilities. While Damian fights Kalibak, Batman remote controls the Batwing and sends it crashing into Kalibak, sending him through the boom tube, and then closes the portal. After father and son reunite, Bruce runs multiple tests on his son to try and figure out how he can help him control these new powers. However, it turns out that they are not permanent, and eventually Damian returns to his normal self. Now, moving ahead to DC Rebirth. One of the more fun storylines that Damian was involved in was the Super Son story. Robin teams up with Superman's 10-year-old son Jonathan Kent, who he befriended previously during a test facilitated by Batman and Superman. Together, they form the Super Sons. In the first volume, Damian and John team up against Kid Amazo, a child affected by a virus which grants powers to ordinary humans. They defeat him and Damian decides to train John. But John's desire to join the Teen Titans against Damian's wishes creates ongoing conflict between the two boys. Batman and Superman construct an underwater base for their sons, which John refers to as the Fortress of Attitude. After the death of Alfred Pennyworth and Dick Grayson losing his memories thanks to the villain KG Beast, Damian begins to see his father's view of justice versus fear as not enough. Instead, he decides to begin killing criminals to invoke true fear in his enemies. With the friction between members at an all-time high, Damian attempts to kill KG Beast, but only succeeds in cutting off his left arm before the Titans intervene and stop him. Batman then arrives, having learned of his son's actions, declaring that the Teen Titans are finished. At that moment, a revived Deathstroke attacks the Titans and Batman with intent to kill them all. Damian pursues Deathstroke and attempts to kill him, but the Titans again intervene. Red Arrow is injured and Deathstroke escapes. Batman tries to convince Robin to come home with him, but Damian attacks him, declaring that Wayne Manor is a coffin and that Batman's views are not enough to save Gotham. At the height of his anger and frustration, Damian rips the Robin insignia off his chest and gives it back to his father. Declaring himself free, Damian leaves for parts unknown. After leaving the Titans, the other members of the team, as well as members of the Bat family, try to find him, but he manages to evade them all. Before long, Superboy discovers a note from Damian to him. It's not directly revealed what's on the note, but it makes Superboy realize where Damian is held up, and he says they won't find him. Damian also leaves a note for the Titans, which contains a set of coordinates leading them to a meeting with Nightwing. Nightwing explains that Damian encouraged him to have the remaining members of the Titans and Teen Titans work together in spite of the Justice League's disapproval. This leads to a new version of the Titans forming consisting of Nightwing, Cyborg, Raven, Starfire, Beast Boy, Crush, Roundhouse, Red Arrow, and Kid Flash. Damian actually got his own comic going last year in 2021, simply titled Robin. This had some strong stories, including one where he meets his great-grandmother, Rue Al Ghul. Talia and Raz help Damian bring down Rule in this story. He then moves back into the palace with them until the events of Shadow War. Shadow War was a storyline from a few months back which I thoroughly enjoyed. I won't ruin that story here as it's still quite recent, but you should definitely check it out. Here is a little summary to give you an idea of what it's all about. Batman and Robin, father and son, are brought back together when Deathstroke assassinates Ra's al Ghul. His daughter, Talia al Ghul, demands revenge and sends her League of Shadows after Slade Wilson and his associates. But the dynamic duo want to bring him to justice for his crimes. Or do they? So that brings us up to recent storylines. Obviously, with all of these summary videos, it's very difficult to bring the entire story of any of these characters into one digestible video. Many of the stories are not considered canon, and many of them are quite irrelevant to the growth of them as characters. So I've tried my hardest to bring all the important stuff into one video, just as I have with previous versions. If you feel I've missed anything important in this video, which I probably have, then please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be more than happy to perhaps do a part 2 to some of these videos. Also, we now have 2 Robins left, Stephanie Brown and of course Carrie Kelly. Who do you want to see covered next? That's it from me today, my friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe and return to the Batcave for more Bat content.